Mediumship. It is not within the province of these lessons on mediumship to offer proof that the numerous kinds of psychic phenomena considered are genuine, but to cite where such proof may be found and to explain them according to the findings of Hermetic initiates. The most convincing proof, to be sure, is that based upon personal experience, and thousands are having such proof each day. But my personal experience or your personal experience has very little weight with those who have had a no-like occurrence. We must refer such to the innumerable cases of psychic phenomena belonging to all classes, which have been painstakingly collected by men of international scientific standing and integrity. A host of such phenomena have been witnessed and critically analyzed under such circumstances as to make fraud or illusion impossible. The person nowadays who denies a wide variety of psychic phenomena, ranging from telepathy, clairvoyance, and premonition, to and including haunted houses and materializations, is merely behind the times and ignorant of the many men of international scientific reputation who have seriously investigated such psychic phenomena. I know of not a single one who remains unconvinced of their genuineness. Since these lessons were first written, there has been a vast amount of additional proof published. In 1923, Charles Richet, professor of physiology in the University of Paris, came out with a book of over 600 pages, 30 years of psychical research, in which he gives a large number of carefully verified instances of the numerous types of psychic phenomena. In 1920, there appeared in English Phenomena and Materialization by Baron von Schreck-Notzing, a large volume illustrated with 225 photographs of spirit materializations. The conditions under which these photographs were obtained were of the strictest nature, and not only afford positive proof that materializations actually take place, but yield much new knowledge of the manner in which they are formed. In 1922 there was published Death and Its Mystery by Camille Flammarion, a large collection of authentic instances of telepathy, clairvoyance, the sight of future events, etc. Also in 1922, another book of the same series, At the Moment of Death by Flammarion, was published. This book contains a large collection of well-verified cases of phantasms of the living, apparitions of the dying, psychic warnings of approaching death, deaths announced by blows from invisible agents, and other psychic manifestations of the dying. In 1923, the third of this series, After Death, by Flammarion, appeared. It contains a large collection of verified cases where the dead have returned according to previous agreement, and of other manifestations and apparitions after death. The latter are arranged according to the length of time after death that they appeared, and constitute conclusive proof that the dead do sometimes return. The length of time elapsing after death before the return being any time from a few minutes to 30 years. Finally, in 1924, Haunted Houses by Flammarion was published. This book is a collection of a very large number of cases of genuine hauntings, and forever disposes of the question of whether or not there actually are haunted houses. Camille Flammarion, who has attained an international reputation as a scientist through this astronomical work, has been gathering data on psychic subjects for about 50 years. In 1899, he intensified his efforts in this direction and put forth a wide and systematic effort to collect well-authenticated cases of psychic phenomena. Up to that time, he had received some 500 psychic observations. Since then, he has received more than 5,600 different psychic observations. The psychic research societies of France, England, Italy, Germany, and other countries have published about as many more that have come to his notice, so that he had some 10 or 11,000 different psychic observations from which to draw conclusions. Facts are always of greater weight than theories. Here we have facts, innumerable facts, verified facts, incontrovertible facts, all testifying that psychic phenomena take place, and a great many of them testifying that the dead survive. It seems strange that the very religions that teach life after death are so bitter against proof being offered that such is the case. If an enlightened people are to believe in a life after death, there must be some proof of it. What better proof can there be than that of dead return and manifest a personality that is recognizable? If the dead still live, why should we think there are insurmountable barriers to communicating with them? Some think such a feat impossible, but it will be done. A retrospect shows 1,000 obstacles to man's achievement that were once thought insurmountable. But one by one they have been overcome. Today's psychic phenomena, it is true, is more or less sporadic and imperfect. But in spite of this, a vast proportion of it is genuine. As such, it points the way to a more perfect form that may be brought under the control of the human will. I should not omit mention of the Case for Spirit Photography, 1923, and The Coming of the Fairies, 1922, by Conan Doyle. The former book relates instances of spirit photography and is illustrated from spirit photographs. The latter is an account of an investigation of some fairies, which were photographed by two little girls under such circumstances as to make fraud impossible. There are other books and many magazine articles that have appeared in the last few years, all offering definite examples of psychic phenomena. But those mentioned will be quite conclusive to any person who can be convinced through reading about experiences of others. To those who must have personal experience to convince them, there is always open the more erroneous but very satisfactory road of experimental investigation. Of this, I feel confident. Any person who will approach the problem with an unbiased mind and investigate painstakingly over a long period cannot be satisfied both as the reality of the various kinds of psychic phenomena and that the human personality survives death.